Hello everyone, welcome to another video here on the channel. So, some really bad news. Hopefully it may turn into good news in the future. Titanfall 3 was in development for 10 months before being cancelled. Now, Titanfall is widely considered one of the best first-person shooters ever made. I'm not making that as some sort of just hyperbole. It is widely considered one of the best games that come out of Respawn Entertainment. And the reason is because the campaign was absolutely amazing. It was a true military campaign, and it was fantastic. And then the multiplayer was everything people could hope for. It had great progression, fantastic movement. There's still a very much large, dedicated Titanfall community who keeps the game alive as much as possible. But of course, Apex Legends was released, so Respawn shifted to that because Apex Legends makes money. Titanfall does not, despite the hype around it. And a lot of people do blame, rightfully, EA for this because when Titanfall was released on October 28, 2016, another smaller franchise, you probably never heard of it, Battlefield, came out as well. Battlefield 1 in particular, which, if you remember, during its marketing campaign, basically was trumping Call of Duty because I believe it was either Advanced Warfare or Infinite Warfare. I think it was Infinite Warfare that was coming out, and a lot of people weren't really excited because it was just another futuristic Call of Duty game, even though it was actually pretty good. Like, I played Infinite Warfare in the last year, and it's a really good Call of Duty game, which I think was really underappreciated because of the poor marketing around it. Like, it just came out at a bad time. Infinite Warfare, I would definitely recommend you play it. Play the single player. Do not play the multiplayer because there is a huge exploit that can cost you your system, getting DDoS attacked. Yeah, just play the single player. The single player is worth it. If you find it on a sale, do not pay full price. But either way, yeah, EA, a lot of people argue, was the reason that Titanfall 2 didn't do well because, of course, you have two first-person shooter games competing with one another from the same company, and it's just like, along with Call of Duty. Call of Duty also launched at the same time, so, Call of Duty 2016. Yeah, Infinite Warfare came out that time as well. So it came out on November 4th, 2016. So yeah, three first-person shooters at the same time. Not exactly the best idea. But Titanfall 2 is still widely considered one of the best games of last generation. One of the best games to come out of Respawn Entertainment. And it was just left to die. So Mohammed Alvi, a ex-developer at Respawn Entertainment, has claimed that Titanfall 3 was in development for 10 months before being cancelled. The news comes via the Burn Network when discussing cancelled projects. On the subject of Titanfall 3, Azari, you want to hear something crazy, a cut story? Titanfall 3, Titanfall 2, came out, did what it did, and we were like, oh, we're gonna make Titanfall 3, and we worked on Titanfall 3 for 10 months, right? In earnest, right? I mean, we had like a new tech for it. We had multiple missions going. We had a first playable, which was like on par to be just like, if not better than whatever we had before, right? Dude, if it was better than Titanfall 2, oh my god, that sounds freaking insane. But I'll make it clear, incrementally better. It wasn't revolutionary, and that's the kicker, right? And we were like feeling pretty damn decent about it, but not the same feelings as Titanfall 2, where we were making something revolutionary. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, the mobility system in Titanfall 2 was freaking amazing. It definitely built on the first game, but the single player let's just say it was eons above what we were getting from military shooters. Like, a lot of them were just cookie cutter, basic, like no one really cared about them. They were there, but they weren't really the selling point. So Titanfall 2 brought back that sense of discovery that people loved about military shooters that was kind of vanguarded by the Call of Duty franchise. Like, Call of Duty was really the franchise that set into motion single-player military shooters. It kind of died off, and then the multiplayer kind of became the central focus. But Titanfall 2 reignited that, and it's not surprising. Remember, Respawn Entertainment are the people who founded the Call of Duty franchise with Infinity Ward. And then the multiplayer team was like having a hell of a time trying to fix the multiplayer because a lot of people love the multiplayer. Yeah, it's still going strong today. Like, you have dedicated people. He continued, people love Titanfall 2 multiplayer, but people who love Titanfall 2 multiplayer is a very small number of people, and most of the people play Titanfall 2 multiplayer and think it's very good, but it's just too much. It's cranked up to 11 and they burn out really fast. I actually agree with that. Like, it's definitely one of those games where if you're good at it, you really have to dedicate a lot of time to it because at its core, It's really like if you've seen those cinematic montages of how they showcase Apex Legends, no one really plays that way in Apex Legends, but in Titanfall they play like that. Like I played a modern game of Titanfall 2. It's not easy. The people who've been playing that game really they go really high on that game, and if you don't know all the mechanics, all the systems, you're not pinpoint what you're shooting, you're going to die very quickly. So I agree, like it's easy to get burned out by it and feel frustrated because again, the people who are keeping the multiplayer alive are the people who've been playing it for years. That was a great multiplayer. That's not something I continue to play for like a year or 2 years, right? But we were like trying to fix that, and we were going to try and fix that from Titanfall 1 to 2, trying to fix that from Titanfall 2 to 3, and the multiplayer team was like just dying. And then PUBG came out, laughs, and I just don't know if you remember I can't say the name, Alex Rorzikis, but Alex Rorzikis was starting to play PUBG, and then Jeff started playing PUBG, and then they made a Battle Royale map, and Titanfall 3 classes. Alvin went on to talk about why ultimately Titanfall 3 was cut, which was to develop the Battle Royale game in the Titanfall universe. You can tell this was speed road, but mistakes happen. Which is later be called Titanfall, which was later called Apex Legends. At the time, I was just literally become the narrative and the lead designer of Titanfall 3, and I just pitched the story, the whole game that me and Manny had come up with, and made this big presentation, and then we went off on a break and went back, and came back from break, and we talked about it, and we were like, yeah, we need to pivot, and we just need to make this game because we internally canceled Titanfall 3 ourselves because we were like, we can make this game and it's just going to be Titanfall 2 plus and a little better, or we can make this thing which clearly is amazing. And you don't get me wrong, I will always miss having another Titanfall, you know what I mean, that I love that game, Titanfall 2. Like I said, it is my most crowing achievement, but it was the right call. That is crazy cut, such as crazy cut that EA didn't even know about it for another 6 months. So EA was even not aware of this. But again, I understand Apex Legends makes millions of dollars. Titanfall is it's a one-off game. You buy it, you develop it, you box it, you sell it, and it's probably depending on how far the people get with the game. Multiplayer games within that sector are like 1 to 2 years, like he said, before they start to be phased out and people want something new, especially in this type of gaming development. When it comes to multiplayer games, you're competing with free-to-play games, which is insane, and delivering a boxed multiplayer game is just more and more difficult nowadays. Alvi was reportedly working on another Titanfall Apex Legends game in 2022 before it was cancelled too. According to Jason Schreier, EA ceased the development of the game based on Apex Legends and Titanfall franchise known as Titanfall Legends internally. The game was being developed by Respawn Entertainment. It was publicly unannounced. What do you think about the cancellation of Titanfall 3? Now, again, you probably already picked up on this that I love Titanfall. Like Titanfall 1... it was a good game. I bought it when the Xbox One first launched, and it was fun for what it was. I kind of got really hooked on it because it was like the Xbox One didn't have a lot of exclusives, and it was either Killer Instinct or Titanfall. But Titanfall 2 really resonated with me. It brought back those incredible memories of playing Call of Duty 4 and how excited I was for those military campaigns because they kind of take a back seat nowadays. Yeah, you do have occasional great military stories, but for the most part, military campaigns don't really have the same level of passion as they once did. Like, again, play the original Call of Duty games, Call of Duty 1, 2, Call of Duty 4, the original trilogy, and you'll see what I'm talking about. They just don't have the same level of grip that they once did, and Titanfall 2 brought that back. They had more personalized stories about individual soldiers, about building that camaraderie between two people, BT and your pilot, showcasing why the pilots were so amazing. They had actual boss fights. Like, that's such a rarity in games like this. Like, actual boss fights, especially in a military shooter. Every one of the mercenaries you faced had a unique boss fight. They were dynamic. They were profound. Their personalities shouted about who they were as, military juggernauts. It was just such a brilliantly composed military campaign, and it breaks my heart to see it's gone. Like, they just said, no, we're going to work on this because, again, this is going to sell. Maybe Titanfall, because Titanfall 2 again didn't do well because they released it and alongside Battlefield, and then Call of Duty also launched. So EA, more or less, like, you can make the argument they set it up to fail because they oversaturated the market with military shooters, and people are going to buy the more familiar shooter rather than the new shooter, because Titanfall was still a brand new shooter and it was multi-platform. Like, I remember back in the day, no one even knew that Titanfall was multi-platform. Like, the first game came out only on Xbox, but the second game was multi-platform, and a lot of people didn't know that. They thought it was only Xbox exclusive. You could see it's just like they just set up this franchise to fail, and now that likely we're not going to get Titanfall 3, it's going to live on as that huge cliffhanger, and it really sucks. Like, it really does. It breaks my heart. Hopefully EA might revive it, because they did that with Dead Space, and we saw how incredible that was. And maybe they might say, hey, let's get a little small team to work. Like, I would be happy. I know this would probably jostle a few feathers for the Titanfall community. I will be happy if they release just a campaign. Like, literally, they release a campaign, sell it digitally only for $30. I'll buy it. Like, I know that a lot of people say no, get a multiplayer and all of that. And while I do agree with that, because the multiplayer right now is rife with, like, bots and hackers and people who are, like, trying to destroy the community. But I would be happy just with a campaign because, again, I love the campaign, but that's just me. It breaks my heart, but that's probably what's going to be the end of Titanfall. Just like with Mega Man Legends, franchises just die, and that's it. We just have to live with the fact that they're probably never going to get the conclusion that we hope they would. But that's what I think. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Like, sub, share if you care. Hey, if you don't, thank you for watching till the end. That's me, signing out.